Hey, I'm Pastor Rod. Thanks for joining us today. I hope this message makes a difference for you.
Well, a couple of years ago, Meredith and I went on vacation with her family to Colorado. Now, we decided to drive, which if you've never done that, don't. It was the longest 16 hours of my life, especially driving through Kansas. There is nothing in Kansas. And after a few days of her family skiing and me attempting to ski, it was time to head home. We loaded up my truck, and Meredith, myself, and her little sister got in the car and started driving back home. 6 hours into the drive, somewhere in the middle of the nothingness of Kansas, the gas light came on. About the same time, there was an exit for a gas station. I looked down at the gauge. I looked over at Meredith. I saw that there was 25 miles till empty, and I thought, oh, we can make it to the next gas station. We continued driving, and pretty soon the 25 miles till empty jumped to 10 miles till empty. Now, I have a theory, but for some reason, it's just me that when you're low on gas and it's come on, it just magically goes faster through the gas. Like, we did not travel that far. So I told Meredith, open up the Maps app, let's find the nearest gas station. We found one a few miles up, no problem, not a big deal. When we reached the exit for the gas station, it said that the distance to empty was now 2 miles. And as you might imagine, I was calm. No issues here. But I had started receiving some rather critical feedback from the other two people in the car with me. And we took the exit, we turned right, and instead of seeing the gas station, we just saw a long road. So we started driving down that small, bumpy road with thick trees on both sides. Did I mention it was late at night? Minor detail. Moments later, the gauge switched to 0 miles till empty. And now I was driving full speed in the night down a bumpy road with no gas through the forest with two women yelling at me in the car. And for the next 5 miles, we drove on that road, hoping that we would finally make it to the gas station. We could see the lights of the gas station in the distance, and so I floored it, went as fast as we could possibly go, and we coasted in the gas station and made it just as the truck started to die. I turned the key, looked over at Meredith, and I said, see, told you we'd be fine. Driving on empty is stupid. If you run out of gas, everyone knows you weren't paying attention, and it's an embarrassing mistake. It's a basic principle of driving. Put gas in the tank, or the car won't run. And if running on empty in your car won't work, why do we think it will work with our lives? Some of you are currently living your life on empty, tired, exhausted. You've got nothing left. You're one situation away from shutting down. Sometimes it seems like there's nothing you can do about it. You're caring for an aging parent who is sick. You're a single mom balancing school, work, and kids who are now at home all day long. Your business is short on employees. You have to work extra hours to make ends meet. It seems like you get one bad report after another bad report from your doctors. 2020 has literally thrown everything it can possibly throw at you, even dirt. Last week, there were clouds of dirt over our state. Come on. But regardless of the reason, you are running on empty with nothing left to give. So how do you know? How do you know if you're running on empty? How do you know if you're on the verge of a breakdown? Well, I want to give you a couple of warning signs. Here's some physical signs. I'm always tired. I can't sleep at night. I can't get enough sleep. I have constant headaches. My blood pressure is unexplainably high. There's also some psychological signs. I fight any change, not as flexible as I used to be. I'm cynical and negative. I'm emotionally exhausted. I feel out of control emotionally. I'm irritable. I'm impatient. I struggle to make even the smallest decisions. I'm worried. I'm anxious. There's even some behavioral things that come along with that. I've lost enthusiasm for my job, my marriage, my kids, my ministry. I'm using alcohol, drugs, or prescription drugs in order to cope. I struggle to focus or concentrate. I'm withdrawing from relationships with others. And sadly, there are some spiritual signs. I'm questioning my faith and my values. I'm no longer interested in church or ministry. I'm spending less time in prayer and Bible reading than I used to. I spend less time in church than I used to. I am impatient with the spiritual progress of others. I blame others and I make excuses for my lack of spiritual growth. And some of you completely identify with this. You are at the end, emotionally, physically, spiritually, relationally, financially. Empty and headed for a crash. Running on empty is dangerous. What do? How do you refill? How do you avoid the inevitable crash? Well, here's what the world tells you is the answer. The way to deal with burnout is to drop out, to quit. But that's a short-term fix. That won't work long because eventually life resumes. Your schedule picks back up. You come back from vacation. You can't drop out forever. So what's the long-term solution? How do you deal with this? We look to the Bible. It's our guidebook for living. And in the book of Isaiah, we find a promise from God that speaks directly to the moments when you are running on empty and have nothing left to give. Isaiah is found in the Old Testament. It was written by the prophet Isaiah. To the Jews, Isaiah was considered the greatest of the prophets. And the story of Isaiah takes place about 700 years before Jesus was born. And during the time of Isaiah's ministry, there were significant challenges for God's people. Wars, destruction, rebellion. And eventually, after years of invasion and conflict, the region was captured by Babylon. And being a Jew in Babylon was incredibly difficult. They were forced to live outside of Judah as exiles, away from home, living in captivity. The people of God were living on empty. And a lot of you can identify. You have spent a lot of time at home living in captivity as a result of this shutdown. You know what it's like to be exiled from family, friends, and community. But your situation was short-term and one you had some control over, but not the Israelites. The people of God were beginning to doubt God's power, asking questions like, where is God? I thought he was all powerful. How could he let this happen? And I think there's been a lot of people asking those same questions in these last few months. Isaiah said in Isaiah 40:26, lift up your eyes and look to the heavens. When I was a kid, I was fascinated by the night sky. I would sit outside staring into the star-filled sky, amazed at the vast array of stars in every direction, excited to see what phase of the moon was at, or if I was really, really lucky, I would see a shooting star. Back in Bible times, they didn't know everything we know about space now, but they were still amazed. The stars, planets, galaxies. It's unbelievable. And it seems like the more we discover, the larger space gets. So why did Isaiah direct the people of God to look up? He continues, lift up your eyes and look to the heavens. Who created all these? He who brings out the starry host one by one and calls forth each of them by name. Because of his great power and mighty strength, not one of them is missing. See, Isaiah didn't just love space This was a reminder to the people of God and to you when you are running on empty. Every time you doubt God's power, look up. And I'm not talking metaphorically. Literally go outside and look up. As a follower of Jesus, space isn't just a fascination, it's a validation that God is larger than life, that he is bigger than anything you could ever imagine. He created the stars in the sky. He created the planets and the galaxy. And if he knows every star by name and where they belong in space, then he will never forget your name. He knows your name. He knows your purpose. He knows your place. Hey, I know it's hard. I know your entire world has been turned around. Everything seems to be falling apart. Look up. Look up. God has not forgotten you. Look up. God has not abandoned you. The last few months have been scary, but look up. God is still powerful. Look up. The Lord is still faithful. Look up, because God is not finished with you. Why do you complain, Jacob? Why do you say, Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord? My cause is disregarded by my God. In other words, Lord, why have you forgotten me? Don't you hear me? There's been a lot of people asking that question. They're discouraged. They're desperate. He continues, the Lord is everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary. You see, in ancient times, gods and goddesses were viewed as having human weaknesses. They were believed to get tired and be hungry and ignore the events happening on earth. And you may feel like sometimes you wear God out. Like he's tired of saving you, tired of helping you, tired of healing you, tired of forgiving you. But Isaiah says that's not possible. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. He put the stars in the sky. That's his strength, and it never runs out. God never gets tired. There's never a moment where God's just like, man, I need a break. The definition of weary is exhausted in strength, endurance, vigor, freshness. Having one's patience, tolerance, or pleasure exhausted. Currently, there's a lot happening in our world that makes you weary. And you may be weary, but God doesn't get weary. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. The pressure of everything we are facing just makes you tired. Everyone is experiencing that. You struggle to sleep because of the pressure. And it's like a weight, and it just keeps pressing and pushing at you every single day. According to a recent report from Express Scripts, the use of anti-insomnia, anti-anxiety, and antidepressant medications spiked by 21% from February to March of this year. I've heard it more in the last 3 months than I can ever remember hearing it. People just saying, I'm just tired. Sometimes they say, I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of wearing a mask. I'm tired of worrying about being sick. But oftentimes it's just, I don't understand. I'm just so tired. And if you are currently tired or weary, this promise is for you. And if you aren't currently, one day you will be, because we all face that. We all go through that. Now, what do people usually do when they're tired and weary? You get mad. You lose focus. You lash out. You try to do something to change it. A lot of relational problems and dysfunctional behaviors happen because you are just worn out. I'm tired of trying to be free from alcohol, so I'm just going to go drink. I'm tired of trying to figure out my finances. I'm going shopping. I'm tired of trying to be sexually pure. You get tired when it doesn't seem like there's a payoff. You get tired when you don't see results. You get tired when you feel alone. And when you are tired and weary, here's the promise from God. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. The King James Version says it this way: they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Now, I don't wait well. No one likes waiting, but right now we're all doing a whole lot of waiting. Fast food isn't fast anymore. You have to wait in the drive-thru forever. What used to be 2 days shipping is now 2 weeks shipping. Some of you are still waiting on that job. Others are still waiting on your graduation to happen that was canceled. Some of you can't wait for school to start because it's been 118 days straight with your children. And on the other side of that, some of you can't wait for school because it's been 118 days straight with your parents. We are horrible at waiting. So what does it look like to wait on the Lord? What do you do when you wait on the Lord? You know, you've heard the song that says it. You've heard Christians say it, wait on the Lord. But what does waiting on the Lord actually look like? When you are waiting on the Lord, don't do something on your own. Look back at that verse. Those who hope in the Lord. If your hope is in the Lord, you don't go and try to solve it on your own. Waiting on the Lord is saying, I don't know. I don't have the answers, but my hope is in the Lord, so I will wait on him. When you do that, your strength will be renewed. Why? Because the God who put the stars into space and knows their name has given you a promise. We find it in verse 29. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Your strength is renewed because you are hoping and waiting on the Lord. That's the promise. If you will wait on the Lord instead of trying to do it yourself, he will renew your strength. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. You know, I had this whole message written about eagles. All this cool stuff talking about eagles and birds, how they grow, how they learn to fly. You are going to be just stunned with the amazing facts that I was going to give you about eagles. But instead, I want to tell you again to look up. But this time, when it's light outside, look at an eagle and watch how it flies. Watch how it soars. It's not frantic. It's not flapping its wings uncontrollably. It's soaring high above the earth, high above trouble. Eagles glide on the upcurrents. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength and soar on wings like eagles. When you put your hope in the Lord, you will glide on the upcurrents of God's grace, high above the troubles of this world. The winds of God's mercy and God's grace will carry you through life's journey. When you put your hope in the Lord, you won't just fly, you will soar. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Now, does that physically mean that you can go run 10 miles and not get tired? No. That's not what that means. Don't try that unless you've trained. Because if you do, I promise you'll be weary. No, this is talking about life's journey, life's race. Burnout comes when you are trying to accomplish God's plan in your power. It will never happen. You can never do it on your own. Burnout comes when you rely on yourself or someone else. When you're waiting on society, people, or banks for the answer. But when you wait on the Lord, when your hope is in the Lord, you can go further and longer and faster than everyone else. The very thing you don't want to do, wait, is when God will give you the ability to keep going. He renews your physical strength, your emotional strength, and your spiritual strength. He renews your energy. Look up. Take your eyes off of everything around you and look up to God and wait on him. But how? How do you wait on the Lord? Well, honestly, there's a lot of different ways to do it. But here's what I do. I open up my Bible. I turn on worship music. Turn off your phone. Remove all your distractions. Open it to Psalms 27. Doesn't have to be that exact one. Just pick a psalm and read it. And as you read it, pray back each verse to the Lord. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Lord, thank you that you're my light and my salvation and my stronghold. Thank you that I can lean on you. And because of you, I don't have to be afraid. I don't have to fear. See, you don't have to have a time limit when you're waiting on the Lord. You don't have to make it through the entire chapter. Pray each verse back to the Lord and just be in his presence. If it takes you a week to get through that chapter because you're praying those verses and you just sense the Lord speaking to you, amazing. This isn't about checking off a box. This is about waiting on the Lord. You're not a loser if you only make it through a few verses. In fact, when you wait on the Lord, that may be all you make it through. Praying things like, Lord, show me what this means. What does this mean for me? What does this mean for my situation? How can I implement this in my life? And if you have thoughts or feelings while you're reading, just write them down. That's what waiting on the Lord looks like for me. If you are tired today, if you're weary, if you're worn out, if you feel like you just can't go on, I have a promise for you. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. That's what you're going to do. You're going to keep fighting. You're not going to give up. Not because you have new strength or power, not because I inspire you. No, you will be renewed and pushed forward because you are going to wait on him. In Luke chapter 21, Jesus talked about the bad things that will happen in this world. All kinds of stuff. He's talking about the end times. Horrible. But then in verse 28, Jesus said this: when things begin to take place, stand up and lift up your heads. The King James Version says, then look up, because your redemption is drawing near. When things in your life are falling apart, look up. When the country is divided and tensions are high, look up. When you get a bad report from your doctor, look up. When you're running on empty, look up. When the world is engulfed in chaos, look up. In your darkest day, and in your darkest night, and your brightest day, look up. Look up and remember that God is at work. He put the stars in the sky. He gives the eagles their ability to soar. Instead of looking at all the trouble around you, look up to the God who lifts you high above it all. Look up and know that he is God. Look up and know that he is good. Come on, saints of God, lift up your head. You've been hanging your head too long. Coronavirus cannot defeat you anymore, so stop letting it. Stop focusing on coronavirus. Look up. Look up. You're going to come through this season. Look up. God still has a purpose for your life. Look up. Celebrate his strength and his power. Every time you face trouble in your life, look up, because your redemption is drawing near. Look up, because the God who created the stars and the galaxies made you a promise. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Look up. Look up to heaven. If you're here today, if you're watching online, I want to pray with you. If you're tired, if you're weary, if you can stand, would you just stand? If you're watching online, there's a button underneath the banner you can click. But if you're tired, if you're weary, I want to pray for you. Lord, I pray for my friends who are just tired and weary and just feel that they've been beat down. Lord, I pray that today as they look up to heaven, as they look up to you, they would be reminded that you're in control. Lord, that the situations and the problems of this world do not faze you. Lord, it doesn't matter how much gets taken away from us. You're our stronghold. You're our light. You're our salvation. Lord, I pray today that they would be renewed, that their strength would be renewed, that they would feel fresh. Lord, that the experiences, the symptoms they've had for weeks, Lord, that you would just make them go away. Lord, the situations that have been causing them to be tired and weary and defeated, you would begin to just work and turn them around. Lord, change their perspective. Lord, let them no longer see the troubles of this world from the earth, but instead soaring on wings like eagles, looking down and seeing how small those things are to you. Lord, you know the names of every star and every planet and every galaxy. You put them all in their place and you know their name. You see them and you have a purpose for them. You have a plan for them. You have a future for them. So Lord, today I just pray that as they hope in you, you would renew their strength. That they would soar on wings like eagles. That they would run and not grow weary. That they would walk and not be faint. Lord, today, together as a church family and as the body of Christ, we choose to just look up. We choose to look up to you. It's your name we pray. Amen.
Lift up your eyes and look to the heavens.